Here are two routes from downtown Minneapolis to the Minneapolis and St. Paul International Airport. One is 17 minutes and 12 miles long. The other one is 21 minutes and 10 miles long. Which route would you take? Let's discuss. So I've been driving for Lyft and Uber now for nearly a decade. Since the very beginning, I've had a hybrid vehicle. I just recently switched to a fuel vehicle, but during that 10 years with my hybrid vehicle, I would always try to choose the shortest route possible. I wanted to use the least amount of gas possible to minimize my cost per mile, and plus with my hybrid vehicle, there's no idling. When I'm stopped, my hybrid vehicle went into electric mode, so I wasn't wasting gas then either. So I was always trying to pay the lowest fuel cost, but I wasn't thinking about my other maintenance costs. Tires, brakes, transmission, suspension. With those shorter routes, you're also stopping and starting a lot more often, so your brakes and your tires are getting more wear. Also, those non-highway roads are a lot harder on the vehicle. There's potholes. I live in Minnesota. We have plenty of those. In addition, with those shorter routes, again, you're stopping and starting a lot. You're having to work your transmission a lot harder. So with my new gas vehicle, I'm thinking about longer versus shorter routes a lot more in terms of fuel efficiency, in terms of overall maintenance costs. And using an app called Toll Guru, I was able to compare fastest routes versus cheapest routes. So let's take a look at those two routes again. Here's the trip info details I entered again. It's from downtown Minneapolis to the airport. It shows a fuel efficiency of 23.4 miles per gallon in the city and 30 miles per gallon on the highway. It also chose my local fuel price here of $2.49. Now again, the fastest route is 17 minutes and 12 miles long, and it also costs $1.10 in fuel. And again, the cheapest route is 21 minutes and 10 miles, and it costs 97 cents in fuel. And a comparison of the two, the cheapest route is going to take almost 4 minutes longer. You'll save that 4 minutes with the fastest route, but you'll be spending an additional 13 cents in gas. Back when I had my hybrid vehicle, I would almost always choose that cheapest route. But to be honest, I hated that cheaper route. I'm assuming that Toll Guru app takes into account all the lights that are on the shorter route, but every time I take that shorter route, there's like 6 lights. I feel like I get stopped at half of them. It's a really annoying route because we have a light rail system that runs in parallel with it, and it screws with the lights all the time. So I'm choosing now to pay slightly more in fuel to save time, to also have an easier drive. Driving on the highway is much easier. I'm not getting stopped constantly. And of course, you still need to pay a lot of attention on the highway, but you don't have to be as laser focused as you do when you're driving on local streets with all those stoplights, pedestrians. Again, I might be paying slightly more in gas, but I'm also saving hopefully in the long run on other maintenance costs, tires, brakes, transmission, suspension. So overall, personally, I have always preferred faster routes, especially if they're within a few miles of the cheapest route. And typically in terms of particulars, my rule of thumb here in Minneapolis and St. Paul is 5 miles, 5 minutes. If the fastest route is more than 5 miles longer than the cheapest route, I won't take that. And then vice versa. If the cheapest route is more than 5 minutes longer than the fastest route, I won't take that. But what do all of you think? Have you thought about routes this way? It's different in different cities. Here in Minneapolis and St. Paul, traffic isn't as bad as, say, Chicago, New York, LA. If you're driving in stop and go traffic on the highway versus shorter distances on city roads, it may be better to choose city roads. Also, have you thought about the cost of gas versus the cost of overall maintenance? And if you haven't watched my latest video on waiting in the airport holding lot for the first time in over a year, be sure to check that one out. Thanks again for watching and drive safe. Thanks.